Above Longtan Reservoir, every movement begins with exposure, precision, and disciplined control. The first challenge was aligning a 600-meter crossing between two steep mountain walls. At this height, tiny connection errors could multiply across the unfinished arch. Before closure, both advancing halves had to meet at one exact crown position. To understand the bridge, return to the untouched reservoir corridor before construction began. Engineers first mapped fractures and weathered rock where the arch would enter the mountains. Core samples revealed whether each springing zone could carry immense compressive forces. Survey teams on opposite shores fixed one shared axis across the water. The selected solution used twin-deck type steel-reinforced concrete arch ribs. Inside each stiff skeleton, 4 steel cord tubes formed the temporary load-carrying frame. A cable crane moved segments, while buckle stays restrained each growing cantilever. Wind testing defined safe lifting windows for large, exposed steel segments. Construction could not start until machines carved controlled access into the mountain. The haul road became the supply artery linking workshops, foundations, and both work fronts. Purpose-built jigs kept every fabricated segment within the geometry required for closure. Parallel work fronts allowed both shores to advance toward the reservoir together. Controlled blasting prepared strong rock without turning excavation into an uncontrolled event. Deep anchors tied the springing foundations directly into competent bedrock. Reinforcement and embedded steel would transfer arch compression safely into each foundation block. Cooling and curing controlled heat inside the newly placed mass concrete. The opposite springing repeated the sequence while preserving its own mountain geometry. With both springings formed, the permanent arch still had not risen above them. Approach foundations were built separately to carry the roadway toward the main arch. Different pier heights showed genuine progress, not an instant jump to completion. Temporary tower foundations carried the cable crane system that would span the reservoir. Main carrying cables created an aerial transport path between the two mountain work fronts. A no-load test checked travel, alignment, braking, and control before lifting steel. Only after towers, anchors, hoists, and buckle stays were ready could erection begin. Node plates and diagonal braces turned individual tubes into a rigid arch truss segment. Trial assembly exposed fit-up errors, while corrections were still possible on the ground. Protective coating shielded inaccessible steel surfaces before they entered the permanent structure. The mast crane rotated each segment into the orientation required for transport. Barges carried finished segments through the reservoir to the cable crane pickup zone. Multi-point rigging controlled the segment without placing workers beneath the suspended load. The first lift transformed months of preparation into the beginning of the arch. Hydraulic tools seated the first segment precisely into its embedded springing connection. Load transferred gradually from the crane into the springing and temporary stays. The second arrival began a repeatable cycle of transport, lift, connection, and restraint. Each added segment required another stay level to control the longer cantilever. 3 connected segments formed a short cantilever, still far from the reservoir center. Balanced erection began when the opposite shore received its first segment. Alternating cycles limited imbalance, while both cantilevers advanced toward midspan. After every connection, surveyors checked vertical and lateral movement at the cantilever tip. Dawn measurements corrected for thermal movement before the next critical lift. A controlled aerial rotation matched the segment to the changing arch curvature. Temporary guides brought 4 cord ends into alignment high above the water. New buckle stays accepted the segment load before the crane was released. The twin skeletons remained separate, parallel ribs joined by transverse stability members. Near quarter span, the growing cantilevers still depended on cables and temporary stays. When wind exceeded the operating window, lifting stopped and the load returned to safety. At mid-erection, the intended arch curve finally became visible across the reservoir. Near the crown, every joint demanded tighter alignment and controlled bolt sequencing. The 2 arch tips approached one another, but the final gap remained deliberately open. Engineers tuned stay forces until both tips reached the required elevation and position. The closure segment entered the center gap with only a narrow controlled clearance. Hydraulic adjustment reduced the remaining error to the millimeter scale. Locking the final connection converted 2 cantilevers into 1 continuous arch skeleton. Stay forces were then redistributed gradually into the newly continuous structural system. Ports, vents, and pipelines prepared the hollow steel cords for concrete filling. Pressure and vent response tracked the rising concrete inside each concealed cord tube. Concrete reaching the crown vent confirmed a complete fill path before sealing. Filling progressed between the twin ribs in a sequence designed to maintain balance. External reinforcement prepared the steel skeleton to become a composite concrete arch. The encasement advanced through 3 rings, 6 segments, and coordinated work fronts. Before each upper pour, inspectors verified cover, reinforcement, and embedded components. Symmetrical pours controlled stress, while the concrete shell developed around the skeleton. Curing protected strength development and limited temperature gradients through the new concrete. Repeated formwork cycles extended the concrete encasement without skipping intermediate stages. The twin concrete arch ribs were complete, but the roadway still did not exist. Crosslinks appeared progressively, stabilizing the 2 ribs at the future column lines. Pre-stressing compressed each cured crosslink and strengthened transverse continuity. Column heights varied because the curved arch rose and fell beneath a level roadway. The uneven construction heights reflected the real geometry of the completed bridge. All 20 column lines now define the support pattern above the arch. Near the springings, rigid frame structures avoided impractically tall conventional columns. Pre-stressed T-beams were cast in batches before delivery to the erection front. Tension strands gave each beam the capacity to span between its supports. Bearing checks confirmed that every beam seated correctly before rigging was released. Cross diaphragms tied adjacent T-beams together and improved lateral continuity. Reinforcement and drainage details were installed before the structural deck slab was poured. Closing the final slab bay created one continuous traffic deck across the structure. Expansion joints preserved controlled movement, where the roadway crossed structural interfaces. Waterproofing protected the deck, while leaving every drainage opening functional. The final wearing course produced an even roadway without burying movement joints. Drains and downpipes moved water away without uncontrolled discharge from the deck. Protected conduits carried power to lighting and operational systems without obstructing traffic. Reflectors and restrained safety hardware completed the roadway's visual guidance system. The bridge only became usable after both approaches were tied into the completed deck. Temporary sensors measured how the deck, columns, and arch responded under controlled loading. During the static hold, engineers compared measured response with expected structural behavior. Controlled braking tested the roadway response without creating a dangerous skid. Post-test surveys checked the arch ribs and all 20 varied height column lines. Commissioning reviewed barriers, drainage, lighting, joints, and roadway as one complete system. Operations crews rehearsed maintenance access without inventing an accident or emergency. Technical handover transferred the completed structure from construction to future operations. The first controlled release introduced ordinary vehicles gradually, lane by lane. Light two-way traffic marked the transition from controlled opening to stable daily operation. For the first time, the completed bridge visibly connected both mountainous shores. Passenger and freight movement revealed the practical value of the new regional connection. The final view reveals the full arch, a mountain barrier transformed into connection.